The twin sons of Zithra cast a golden light over the palace city. High above the crystal towers, Queen Leora stood on her balcony, her long silver robes flowing in the gentle wind. She had ruled Zithra for centuries with wisdom and strength, guiding her people through times of prosperity and times of crisis. But today, she felt an unfamiliar stirring in her heart, a mix of excitement, fear, and curiosity. For many years, her daughter, Princess Myra, had been away. Myra had left Zithra to explore the galaxy, seeking knowledge and adventure among the stars. The queen had tried not to worry, telling herself that her daughter was strong and clever. But a part of her had always feared that the universe could be cruel. Now, she had received news of Myra's return. Not only that, but she would not be coming alone. High above the palace, a shimmering vessel appeared, its sleek surface reflecting the twin suns. Guards and citizens alike paused to watch. This was no ordinary ship. Its design was unfamiliar, unlike any Zithran craft they had ever seen. It moved with a strange elegance, gliding silently through the sky. From the vessel emerged Myra, her hair the same silver as her mother's, but her eyes carried the warmth of someone who had seen countless worlds. By her side was a man with pale skin, dark hair, and eyes that gleamed with intelligence and kindness. His presence was unusual in Zithra, for he was human, a species rarely seen on their planet. But the most surprising sight of all was the two small children, who followed them, one with curious amber eyes, the other with a mischievous grin that seemed to light up the air around her. The queen felt her heart tighten. Her daughter had returned, yes, but with humans. And not just a husband, two children as well. She took a slow breath, reminding herself to remain calm. As ruler, she needed to face this with dignity, but a small voice inside her whispered doubts. Could humans survive on Zithra? Could they truly belong here? The vessel landed gently on the palace grounds. The children ran ahead, laughing as they touched the alien plants that grew in geometric patterns along the marble walkways. One of them, a boy named Eli, reached out to a glowing flower, and it bent toward him, almost as if it recognized him. The girl, Sierra, pressed her tiny hands on a hovering device that whirred softly and moved in response to her touch. Even from a distance, the queen could see that these humans were not ordinary. Myra, the queen said when she finally approached her daughter. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. You have been gone a long time. Tell me, how have you fared? Myra bowed respectfully, though her eyes sparkled with warmth. Mother, I have seen many worlds. I have learned things that I never could have imagined here, and I have brought with me someone very dear to me. David, my husband, and our children, Eli and Sierra. David stepped forward, bowing slightly in the alien custom. His voice was calm and measured. Your Majesty, he said, I hope you will allow us to live in peace here. I have heard of your wisdom and your fairness, and I wish to honor your home and your people. The queen studied him carefully. Humans were fragile in many ways compared to Zithrans. Their bones were lighter, their bodies less adapted to Zithra's high gravity and harsh environments. But she could see something else in him: strength, patience, and intelligence. He was not weak. He was different, yes, but perhaps not weaker. The children, sensing the tension, giggled and ran in playful circles. Eli touched a small plant, and it swirled around him, forming shapes he could almost control. Sarah pressed a button on a floating drone, and it hovered obediently, following her every movement. The queen's advisors murmured among themselves. Some were skeptical, while others watched with quiet fascination. The humans' abilities were unlike anything they had expected. The queen motioned for them to follow her into the palace. The corridors were lined with intricate designs that shimmered softly in the twin suns' light. David and Myra moved carefully, holding their children's hands as they walked. The children's wide eyes took in everything: the floating lights, the unusual architecture, and the soft hum of alien machinery. My children, the queen said softly, addressing Eli and Sarah for the first time. Zithra is your home now, though it may seem strange at first. You must learn its ways, just as we will learn yours. Eli looked up at her, a small smile on his face. We want to learn, he said, his voice confident despite his small size. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "And we want to play too," she added, giggling. The Queen felt a small smile tug at her lips. Perhaps the children would help bridge the gap between humans and Zithrans. Perhaps their presence could bring new ideas, new strength, and new hope to her people. Over the next days, life in the palace was filled with both wonder and challenge. The children adapted quickly to the higher gravity, running, jumping, and even climbing with surprising skill. Ellie's curiosity led him to tinker with the palace's water systems, and he created a small device that could distribute water more efficiently to the gardens. Sarah fascinated the palace engineers by interacting with technology in ways they could not predict. David, meanwhile, worked quietly behind the scenes. He spoke with the advisors, showing respect for their traditions while offering his own solutions to problems. He proved to be clever, resourceful, and patient, slowly winning over those who had been wary of humans. Yet, not everyone was convinced. Some members of the council whispered about the dangers of allowing humans to live among them. "They cannot survive here forever," one elder muttered. "The planet is too harsh. Their presence may bring disaster." The Queen overheard the whispers but remained silent. She had seen enough to know that humans were resilient, more so than many gave them credit for. They had survived long journeys through space, adapted to new worlds, and now they were thriving here in ways that even the most talented Zithrans could not fully predict. One evening, the Queen walked through the palace gardens with Myra and her family. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows across the glowing flora. Eli held a small vine that responded to his touch, curling and spiraling like it understood him. Sarah laughed as she made a floating orb dance in the air. "Myra," the Queen said gently, "you have chosen a different path than I would have imagined. But I see now that your path has brought you wisdom, courage, and strength that is not only yours, but now ours as well." Myra smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Mother, I have learned that strength comes in many forms. Humans are different, yes, but our hearts, our minds, and our courage can help us face challenges together." The Queen looked at the children, her eyes softening. "And these, my grandchildren, they carry the future within them. Perhaps they are the bridge between our worlds." Eli ran ahead, laughing, and Sarah followed, twirling in the glowing light. The Queen watched them, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and wonder. She realized that change was not something to fear. It was something to embrace. Above them, the stars began to appear in the sky. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, leaving trails of gold and pink across the clouds. In that moment, the Queen understood that the universe was vast, full of surprises, and that humanity, though young and different, held a power she could not ignore. For the first time in many years, the Queen felt hope not just for her daughter or for her grandchildren, but for all of Zithra. Perhaps the arrival of humans would bring not chaos, but growth, innovation, and new possibilities. As the family returned to the palace, the Queen whispered to herself, "They are different, yes, but perhaps they are exactly what we need." And with that, the first step of a new chapter began. The humans were here. They had come to stay. And Zithra, the planet of her ancestors, would never be the same again. Life in the palace quickly became a mixture of wonder, excitement, and small challenges. Zithra was a beautiful planet with glowing forests, floating lakes, and cities made of crystal and metal. But for humans, it was unlike anything they had ever known. The gravity was heavier, the air smelled different, and even the light from the twin suns seemed brighter than anything on Earth. From the first morning, the Queen watched her daughter and her family navigate this strange world. Myra had expected it to be difficult, but even she was amazed at how quickly David and the children adapted. Eli, her son, ran across the palace gardens with surprising agility, leaping over flowered ridges and streams that floated in midair. Sarah, her daughter, had a special fascination with Zithran technology, touching floating devices and making them hum in rhythm with her tiny hands. However, not everything was smooth. During the first council meeting, David tried to explain some human ideas to the advisors. "On our home planet," he said, "we often solve problems using teamwork and creativity. We use what is available to us in ways that might seem unusual. Some of the advisors frowned. You are speaking of Earth customs, one asked, his voice sharp. We do not know if such methods would work here. David smiled gently. I understand. But perhaps we can try something together. Humans are adaptable. We learn quickly, and we respect the wisdom of Zithra. The Queen watched closely. She could see the tension in the room, but also the calm confidence in David. He was not arrogant, but he believed in his people and in her daughter. She nodded, silently, wondering if the council would ever see what she had already begun to realize. Humans had a strength of a different kind. Meanwhile, the children explored every corner of the palace. Eli was fascinated by the glowing plants that responded to touch, while Sarah loved the floating devices, buttons, and panels that hovered in the air. One morning, the Queen found Eli leaning over a fountain, whispering to the plants. To her surprise, the plants seemed to move and grow faster as he touched them. Sarah, on the other hand, had figured out how to operate a small drone to carry messages around the palace. Myra, the Queen said softly one afternoon, I do not understand how your children can do these things. They are human, yet they seem connected to Zithra. Myra smiled. Mother, humans have always adapted to new environments. Eli and Sarah are learning to use the planet's gifts. It is natural for them to explore and understand. They are curious, like all children, but also clever. Their minds are open to learning. The Queen pondered this. She had long believed that humans were fragile, limited by their physical forms. But watching her grandchildren, she realized that they might have qualities that Zithrans had never considered, qualities like creativity, intuition, and determination. Life in the palace was not just about wonder. It was about learning and adjustment. David spent hours teaching the advisors about human problem-solving methods. He demonstrated simple tools that could help with agriculture, water distribution, and energy conservation. At first, some Zithrans were skeptical. These ideas are simple, one advisor said. How can they compare to our advanced technology? David smiled. Sometimes simplicity is the key to efficiency. Humans learn to make the most of what they have. Combining your technology with our approach could create something even better. Slowly, the advisors began to try his ideas. They were surprised when small experiments worked. Plants grew faster, water flowed more efficiently, and energy use improved. Even the Queen had to admit that humans brought something valuable to Zithra. But it was not just about technology. Humans approached challenges differently. When a small fire broke out in one of the palace laboratories, David and the children helped contain it using calm and clever methods. Eli used a long vine to block the flames from spreading, while Sarah directed a small drone to move objects safely out of the fire's path. The Zithran guards were amazed. They had relied on brute strength before, but humans had used intelligence, speed, and cooperation. The Queen began to feel pride mixed with curiosity. Perhaps humans were not only survivors, they were innovators. Perhaps they could teach Zithrans lessons in creativity, courage, and compassion. However, not all interactions were easy. The children sometimes struggled with Zithran customs. During a formal dinner, Eli accidentally picked up a floating dish with his hands, causing it to spin in the air and knock over a glass. Sarah laughed, which made some of the advisors frown. The Queen sighed softly. Myra, do you think your children will ever fully understand our ways? Myra shook her head, smiling. Mother, they will learn. But they are humans. They think differently, feel differently. That is not a flaw. It is a gift. They will find ways to balance both worlds. Indeed, the children's differences were often their strength. When the palace experienced a small power disruption, Sarah instinctively tapped on the floating panels until she restored the connection. The Zithran engineers watched in astonishment. Eli suggested new ways to channel energy more efficiently. The Queen realized that humans had a special ability to see possibilities that Zithrans, with their rigid traditions, might never notice. The Queen decided to test their abilities further. She arranged a series of small challenges in the palace gardens, designed to see how the humans would adapt. Eli had to navigate a path with shifting gravity. Sarah had to control a floating device through a series of obstacles. And David had to find a way to organize the palace supplies using both human and Zithran methods. To everyone's amazement, they succeeded. Eli moved gracefully through the changing gravity, laughing as he discovered shortcuts that even the Queen had not considered. Sarah guided the floating device perfectly, her concentration and creativity surprising the engineers. David found clever solutions to organize supplies, combining Zithran efficiency with human logic. After the challenges, the Queen gathered her advisors. "You see," she said quietly, "humans are not weak. They are different, yes, but they are clever, resourceful, and adaptable. They bring a perspective we have not considered. Perhaps it is time we open our minds." Some advisors nodded reluctantly, while others whispered among themselves. Not everyone was convinced, but the first seeds of acceptance had been planted. Over the next few weeks, the humans continued to learn Zithran ways, while Zithrans began to learn human creativity. They shared meals, games, and stories. Eli and Sarah loved learning about Zithran history, while teaching their new friends simple games from Earth. David helped the palace engineers with practical problems, showing that humans could contribute in meaningful ways. One evening, the Queen walked through the gardens alone, watching the sunset. She saw Eli and Sarah playing near the fountains, their laughter echoing in the air. David stood nearby, helping a gardener repair a small water channel. Myra sat beside the Queen, her eyes full of understanding and hope. "They are thriving," Myra said softly. "Not just surviving, but thriving. Humans can adapt to almost any challenge if given the chance." The Queen nodded. "Yes, but we must be careful. There are still those who doubt. There will be challenges, and not all will welcome these changes. We must prepare them and ourselves for what is coming." Myra smiled. "Mother, we are ready. Humans are strong in ways you may not yet fully see, and they are brave. Together, we can face whatever comes next." The Queen looked at her daughter and then at her grandchildren. Eli had discovered a small glowing flower and was carefully guiding it to grow along a decorative path. Sarah was laughing as she floated a small orb around her. The Queen felt a warmth in her chest she had not felt in years. Perhaps, she thought, humans were exactly what Zithra needed. Their creativity, courage, and resilience could strengthen the planet and its people in ways that tradition alone could not. For the first time, the Queen allowed herself to truly imagine a future where humans and Zithrans could work together, side by side, to create something greater than either could achieve alone. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the palace lights glowed softly, and the laughter of children filled the air. A new chapter had begun on Zithra, one of learning, understanding, and discovery. And at the heart of it were humans, their spirit, and their unyielding courage. The Queen whispered quietly to herself, a small smile on her lips. "Perhaps this is only the beginning. Perhaps humans will show us the way to something even greater." And with that thought, she watched her daughter and grandchildren play in the glowing gardens, knowing that the lessons of the future would come not just from tradition, but from the courage, creativity, and wisdom of humans. Zithra had begun to feel like home to the humans. David had grown accustomed to the higher gravity. Moving gracefully through the palace corridors, Eli and Sarah ran through the gardens, laughing and discovering new ways to play with the glowing plants and floating devices. Princess Myra worked tirelessly to balance her alien heritage with her human family, helping the children understand Zithran customs while also encouraging their natural curiosity. Yet, peace is often fragile. One morning, alarms echoed across the palace. Red lights flashed through the corridors, and the familiar hum of the floating lights became frantic. The Queen's guards rushed to the main observation deck, their faces tense. "What is it?" Queen Leora demanded, her voice steady but tinged with concern. A young scout reported, "Your Majesty, an unknown fleet of ships is approaching Zithra. They are armed, fast, and they do not respond to our communication attempts." The Queen's sharp eyes narrowed. She had faced many threats during her long reign, but something about this fleet unsettled her. The ships moved with precision, almost as if they had been trained to attack. David stepped forward. Your Majesty, may I suggest a strategy before panic spreads? Humans have a few methods of defense that might complement your forces. The Queen turned to him. Surprised. Humans, she asked, what can you do against a Zithran fleet? David bowed respectfully. I do not seek to replace your defenses, Your Majesty. I only offer another perspective. Humans are creative in battle and quick to adapt. With your permission, I would like to coordinate a few defensive measures. The Queen hesitated, but then nodded. Very well. You have my trust for this. But remember, failure is not an option. Zithra's safety comes first. David quickly organized the humans and a small group of young Zithran engineers, Eli and Sarah. Though children insisted on helping, the Queen watched in amazement as the boy and girl carefully examined the palace defenses, noting ways to use the environment against the invaders. Eli pointed to a grove of energy-absorbing plants. If we position these along the outer walls, we can slow down their ships, he suggested. Sarah tapped on a floating panel and adjusted the drones to hover in strategic patterns. We can confuse their sensors. They won't know where to aim, she said confidently. The Queen raised an eyebrow. They are only children, she said to Myra. Can they really make a difference? Myra smiled. Mother, humans are never just what they appear. Watch and see. As the enemy ships neared, the palace prepared for defense. The Zithran fleet moved into position, glowing shields activating, and energy cannons charging. The humans worked alongside the engineers, quickly setting up clever diversions and protective barriers. The first attack came suddenly. Energy beams lanced through the sky, striking the palace walls. Ellie's plants reacted instantly, expanding and forming thick barriers. Sarah's drones darted between the attackers, creating false signals and confusing the sensors of the invaders. David directed small squads to take advantage of these diversions, allowing the Zithran fleet to strike more accurately. The Queen watched, her heart racing. She had always believed in the strength of her people, but the humans were proving her assumptions wrong. Not only were they surviving, they were actively helping to protect the planet. During the battle, Eli discovered a natural canyon near the palace that could act as a trap. He guided the engineers to create a funnel that would force the enemy ships into a narrow passage. Sarah, meanwhile, used the drones to lead the invaders' sensors astray, making them believe the palace was in one location while it remained safe elsewhere. David coordinated with the palace commanders, blending human tactics with Zithran technology. They set ambushes, redirected enemy fire, and used the planet's unique terrain to their advantage. The invaders were skilled, but they had never encountered such unpredictable resistance. Hours passed, the twin suns had set, and the stars sparkled above Zithra. The battle continued into the night, the sky filled with flashes of light from energy beams, explosions, and the glowing shields of the palace. At one point, an enemy ship broke through the outer defenses, heading straight for the palace. Eli acted instantly, sending a surge of energy through the plants, creating a wall that blocked the ship's path. Sarah guided a drone to disable its sensors, causing it to crash harmlessly into a nearby canyon. The Queen's advisors watched in awe. These humans, they are incredible, one whispered. Their minds work in ways we could not imagine. The battle reached its peak when the enemy leader, a large, menacing ship, attempted to breach the palace's inner defenses. David saw an opportunity. Using a combination of human strategy and Zithran technology, he directed a coordinated attack. Eli and Sarah played critical roles, their small hands guiding plants and drones to create openings and block paths. Together, they forced the enemy leader into a trap, and the ship was destroyed in a controlled explosion. Finally, after long hours, the remaining enemy ships retreated. The skies cleared, leaving Zithra safe once more. The palace guards cheered, but their voices were mixed with surprise and awe at what the humans had accomplished. The Queen stepped onto the balcony, surveying the battlefield below. The plants were scorched in some places, drones hovered in soft light, and the palace had minor damage. But the people were alive, the children were unharmed, and the humans had proven their worth. She turned to Myra and her family. I underestimated you, she said quietly. Not just you, David, but your children as well. They have courage, intelligence, and resourcefulness beyond what I imagine. Myra smiled. Mother, humans are strong in ways that are not always obvious. We face danger with creativity, patience, and teamwork. Strength is not only about power, it is about heart and mind. The Queen nodded. Yes, and you have shown me that today. Perhaps Zithra and humanity have more in common than I thought. David bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. We only wish to help and to show that humans can live alongside Zithrans, contributing to your world rather than burdening it. Eli and Sierra ran up to the Queen. Holding hands, we helped, Eli said proudly. We stopped the ships, Sierra added, and we want to learn more. We can help Zithra in many ways. The Queen looked at them, her heart swelling with pride. These small humans, her grandchildren, had done what many adults could not. They had not only survived, they had made a real difference. As the night settled over Zithra, the Queen gathered her advisors. Let this be a lesson, she said firmly. Humans are not weak. They have creativity, courage, and a spirit that complements our own. We must embrace this, not fear it. Together, we are stronger than we ever imagined. The advisors nodded, some reluctantly, some with new respect. For the first time, the idea of humans living on Zithra seemed not just acceptable, but beneficial. In the quiet moments that followed, Myra and her family sat with the Queen in the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected softly in the fountains, and the air was filled with the scent of glowing flowers. My children, the Queen said softly, you have shown me that the future may be different than I expected, but it is not weaker. It is brighter. Humans are a part of that brightness, and so are you. Eli and Sierra smiled, tired but happy. David took Myra's hand, and together they looked at the stars. The Queen watched them, thinking of the challenges yet to come. There would be other threats, other doubts, and other obstacles. But now she knew something important. Humans were not helpless. They were clever, brave, and resilient. They could face dangers that even the strongest Zithran warriors might fear. And perhaps, she thought, the galaxy itself would soon learn that humans were a species to be respected, not feared. For now, peace had returned, and the humans had earned their place in Zithra's story. The battle had been won, but the true journey, the journey of acceptance, understanding, and unity was only beginning. The Queen whispered softly to herself, watching her grandchildren play in the garden's glow. Yes, they are different, but perhaps they are exactly what we need to shape the future. And as the stars twinkled above, Zithra slept peacefully, its people stronger, wiser, and united by the courage and ingenuity of a small human family. The battle had ended, and Zithra slowly returned to its peaceful rhythm. The twin suns shone over the crystal towers, casting golden reflections on the marble streets below. But the palace was not quiet. Within its walls, a quieter, more important struggle was taking place, the struggle for acceptance. The Queen had seen the humans' courage, intelligence, and creativity in action, but convincing the council and the people was a different challenge. Not all Zithrans were ready to trust humans, and some still whispered doubts. Could these fragile creatures truly belong among them? Could they really contribute to the planet's future? Myra and her family worked tirelessly to bridge the gap. David continued to speak with the council, carefully explaining human methods and approaches. Eli and Sierra visited the palace engineers, gardeners, and students, showing how humans could help in practical ways. Slowly, Zithrans began to notice something remarkable. Humans did not replace their traditions, they enhanced them. One afternoon, the Queen invited her daughter and family to the council chamber. The room was filled with Zithran officials, their faces showing curiosity and caution. Some of the older members were still skeptical, arms crossed and eyes narrowed, while the younger advisors watched with quiet interest. My daughter, the Queen began. These humans have proven themselves in ways that I could not have imagined. But I wish for you to see them not only as visitors, but as contributors to our society. I ask you to observe, to listen, and to learn from them as we move forward. David stepped forward, bowing politely. Your Majesty, esteemed council members, we do not come to replace your ways. We come to offer what we know, to learn what you know, and to work together. Humans are adaptable and creative. We face challenges with curiosity and courage. Perhaps together, we can build a stronger future. The room was silent. A few council members exchanged uncertain glances. But then, something remarkable happened. Eli and Sierra, standing beside their father, began to demonstrate. Eli carefully lifted a small, withered plant from a pot. He whispered softly, guiding its growth with his hands. Within moments, the plant straightened, its leaves glowing faintly with energy. The Zithran engineers gasped. They had never seen a human influence Zithran flora so directly. Sierra, meanwhile, activated a floating drone, showing how it could transport small supplies across the chamber without touching the ground. She maneuvered it gracefully between desks, avoiding obstacles with precision. Humans can see different solutions, she said with a smile. We can help, and we can learn too. The council members murmured among themselves. Some shook their heads in disbelief, while others nodded slowly. The younger members were clearly impressed. One of them whispered to a colleague, "Perhaps there is more to these humans than we thought." The Queen observed quietly, a faint smile on her lips. Myra squeezed her mother's hand. "See, Mother, humans are clever, strong, and willing to help. We are not so different after all." Over the following weeks, humans and Zithrans began to work together more closely. David assisted engineers in improving energy distribution systems. Eli helped gardeners find new ways to grow food efficiently, combining human ingenuity with Zithran methods. Sierra taught children simple games from Earth that encouraged teamwork and problem-solving. Slowly, the people of Zithra began to accept the humans. Where once there had been fear or doubt, there was now curiosity and respect. The Queen's palace became a place of learning and cooperation, where humans and Zithrans exchanged knowledge and ideas. Even the palace staff, who had been wary at first, began to appreciate the humans' qualities. They noticed how David treated everyone with respect, how Eli approached problems with careful observation, and how Sierra brought joy and laughter to even the most serious tasks. These small actions created trust and friendship, slowly breaking down prejudice. One evening, the Queen invited her family to walk through the palace gardens. The twin moons had risen, casting silver light across the glowing flowers and floating fountains. Eli was gently guiding a vine to grow along a trellis, while Sierra floated a small orb that glowed softly in her hands. "My children," the Queen said, "I have watched you, your father, and your mother. You have proven that humans are not weak. You are clever, resourceful, and courageous. You have shown patience, compassion, and creativity. I am proud of you all." Eli looked up, smiling. "Thank you, Grandmother. We want to help Zithra, just like you help your people." Sierra nodded. "And we want to learn more. There is so much here that is amazing." The Queen's eyes softened. She had once doubted humans, thinking them fragile and limited. But now she realized that their strength was not always visible. It lay in their hearts, minds, and willingness to face challenges. The next day, the Queen summoned the council for a formal session. She spoke with authority and pride. "Council members," she said, "humans are no longer outsiders. They have proven themselves, not through brute force, but through courage, intelligence, and creativity. I ask that you accept them as part of our society, not as guests, but as partners." A murmur spread through the chamber. Some members hesitated, still unsure, but the younger advisors stepped forward. "We agree," one said. "The humans have shown their value. They have ideas that complement ours. We must work together." Another added, "Their children show promise beyond their years. They could be leaders of the future, bridging our world and theirs." Slowly, the room filled with nods and quiet approval. The humans had not only survived on Zithra, they had earned trust and respect. That evening, Myra took her children to a small clearing in the palace gardens. Fireflies danced around, their light reflecting in Ellie's curious eyes and Sierra's excited smile. "You see, children," Myra said gently, "your actions matter. You showed courage, intelligence, and kindness. Because of you, Humans are no longer strangers here. You have helped Zithra see the value in our world." Eli looked at her, pride shining in his eyes. "We did it?" he asked. "Yes," Sira added, "and we will do more." The queen appeared quietly behind them, her expression soft. She knelt down, placing her hand gently on Ellie's shoulder. "You have made me proud," she said. "Not because you are human, but because of who you are. Courageous, clever, and compassionate. That is what matters most." David watched silently, his heart full of gratitude. He had feared that humans might never be fully accepted, but seeing the Queen's approval and the Council's changing attitudes reassured him. Myra leaned into his side, smiling softly. As the night deepened, the palace glowed with a soft, golden light. The humans and Zithrans alike shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments of learning. The barriers between species, once so strong, were beginning to fall. The Queen walked through the gardens alone for a moment, thinking of the future. She realized that Zithra's strength did not lie only in its warriors, its technology, or its traditions. Its strength lay in cooperation, understanding, and openness to new ideas. Humans had brought that to Zithra, and the planet would never be the same. In the quiet of the night, the Queen whispered to herself, "The future is bright. Humans, Zithrans. Together, we can achieve more than I ever imagined." Eli and Sira, tired but happy, curled up in the palace garden under the soft glow of floating lights. Their laughter and curiosity had changed not only their world, but also the hearts of those who had doubted them. David and Myra stood together, holding hands, watching the children play. "We have a long journey ahead," Myra said. "Yes," David agreed, "but we are not alone. We have the Queen, her people, and each other. Together, we can face anything." The Queen, watching from a distance, felt a deep sense of hope. Humans were no longer strangers. They were part of Zithra, part of her family, and part of the future. And for the first time in many years, she truly believed that the galaxy could be a place where different worlds, different peoples, could work together in harmony. The palace glowed softly under the twin moons. The air was filled with laughter, learning, and the quiet hum of floating devices. A new chapter had begun on Zithra, one of acceptance, understanding, and unity. And at its heart were humans, their courage, creativity, and unwavering spirit lighting the way. The Queen whispered once more, smiling, "Yes, this is only the beginning. Together, we will build a stronger, brighter future." The morning sun rose over Zithra, casting a warm golden glow over the crystal towers and gardens. The palace, once filled with tension and uncertainty, now hummed with energy, laughter, and purpose. The humans, David, Myra, and their children, Eli and Sira, had not only survived the challenges of Zithra, but had become an integral part of its life. The Queen walked through the palace gardens, watching her grandchildren play. Eli carefully guided a new plant to grow along a trellis, his small hands gentle yet confident. Sira floated a glowing orb above the flowers, laughing as it followed her commands. Both children had grown stronger, cleverer, and more confident in the ways of Zithra. "My grandchildren," the Queen said, kneeling beside them, "you have brought new life, new ideas, and new hope to this planet. I am proud of both of you." Eli smiled. "We only wanted to help, grandmother. We love Zithra, and we want to make it a better place," Sira added, "and we want to learn more. There is so much to explore and understand." The Queen nodded, realizing that these small humans carried not only the spirit of their own species, but also the bridge between two worlds. Their courage, creativity, and intelligence had proven that humans were not fragile outsiders, but vital allies and partners. Inside the palace, David and Myra were meeting with the council. Plans were underway to expand the collaboration between humans and Zithrans. Engineers, gardeners, and scholars from both species worked together, sharing knowledge and combining their strengths. The human perspective, which had once been questioned, was now respected and valued. David spoke to the council with quiet confidence. "Your Majesty, council members, the future of Zithra is bright. Together, humans and Zithrans can achieve more than either could alone. Our differences are not weaknesses, they are strengths. We complement each other. One of the younger council members, who had been skeptical in the past, nodded. We see that now. Your ideas, your children, and your ways of thinking have already improved life here. We are stronger together. The Queen watched the discussion unfold, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. The humans had not only survived, but had become leaders in their own right, teaching Zithrans to see the universe differently, to embrace creativity, courage, and adaptability. Over the following weeks, Zithra flourished. Eli and Sarah worked with students to teach innovative ways to approach problems. David helped engineers develop new energy channels that reduced waste and improved efficiency. Myra guided cultural exchanges between humans and Zithrans, showing both species how to honor traditions while embracing new ideas. One day, the Queen decided to host a festival to celebrate unity between humans and Zithrans. The palace gardens were decorated with glowing flowers, floating lanterns, and vibrant banners. People from all corners of the planet came to join the celebration. Humans and Zithrans played games together, shared stories, and exchanged knowledge. Eli demonstrated a small project. He had created a simple machine that could water large areas of gardens automatically. Zithran students were amazed, asking him questions about how it worked and how they could improve it further. Sarah guided a group of children in navigating small floating devices through a maze, teaching teamwork and problem-solving. David and Myra watched with pride as their children's efforts inspired both species. The Queen joined them, smiling warmly. "You have done more than I ever imagined," she said. "Not only have you shown courage and intelligence, but you have also brought joy and understanding to Zithra." The festival continued into the evening. As the twin moons rose, their silver light reflected on the floating fountains and crystal towers. Music and laughter filled the air. Humans and Zithrans celebrated not just survival, but cooperation, creativity, and hope. Later that night, the Queen took a quiet moment to speak with Myra and her family. "My daughter, David, Eli, Sarah," she said, "you have shown that the future of Zithra does not lie only in tradition, strength, or technology. It lies in understanding, creativity, and unity. You have changed this planet, and for that, I am deeply grateful." Eli looked up at her. "Grandmother, will we always be welcome here?" The Queen smiled. "Always. You are part of Zithra now. Your ideas, your courage, and your spirit belong here. And one day, you will teach others to be brave, clever, and kind just as you have taught us." Sarah hugged the Queen's hand. "We will. We want to help everyone, human and Zithran alike." The Queen chuckled softly. "And you shall. You are the bridge between worlds and the hope for a brighter future." Days turned into weeks, and the humans continued to integrate fully into Zithran society. They traveled to nearby cities, sharing knowledge and learning new skills. Eli showed farmers how to use plants in more efficient ways, combining human innovation with Zithran techniques. Sarah worked with engineers to improve small devices that help with transportation and communication. David advised on larger projects, always respectful of Zithran traditions while introducing practical human solutions. Through these efforts, Zithra's people began to see humans not as outsiders, but as friends, teachers, and partners. Stories of their courage during the enemy attack became legendary, inspiring both adults and children alike. Humans were no longer strangers, they were part of the planet's culture, its growth, and its future. One afternoon, the Queen walked through the palace gardens, reflecting on the journey so far. Eli and Sarah were playing near the fountains, laughing as they experimented with plants and floating devices. David and Myra joined her, holding hands and smiling at their children's energy. "My daughter," the Queen said softly, "you were right. Humans are strong, not just in body, but in heart and mind. They have proven that courage, creativity, and kindness can change worlds." Myra nodded. "And we will continue to learn from each other, Mother. Humans and Zithrans, together, can make a future that is brighter than anything we could imagine alone." The Queen's eyes sparkled with pride. She had watched humans adapt, learn, and thrive in a world that had once seemed too strange, too harsh for them. Now, they were leaders, teachers, and partners, proof that the universe was full of possibilities when species worked together. Instead of apart. As night fell, the family stood together on the palace balcony, looking out over the city. Lights twinkled in the distance, reflecting off the crystal towers, and the twin moons cast a gentle glow over the gardens below. "Grandmother," Eli said quietly, "do you think humans can help other planets too?" The Queen smiled. "I believe they can. Humans are clever, brave, and full of heart. They will always find a way to make a difference. Perhaps one day, their spirit will reach far beyond Zithra." Sarah twirled happily. "And we will be part of it. We will help wherever we go." David put his arm around Myra. "Your children are extraordinary," he said. "They carry the best of both worlds, the courage and curiosity of humans, and the wisdom and resilience of Zithrans." The Queen nodded, placing a gentle hand on Ellie's shoulder. "Yes, they are my grandchildren, and they will shape the future not only for Zithra, but perhaps for the galaxy itself." In the following months, the humans continued to teach, learn, and inspire. They helped build new gardens, improve energy systems, and even assisted in small scientific discoveries. Zithrans grew to appreciate their creativity, problem-solving skills, and courage in ways that words could not describe. The palace, once a place of tension and uncertainty, had become a symbol of unity, cooperation, and hope. Humans and Zithrans worked side by side, sharing knowledge and learning from each other. The barriers of fear and prejudice had fallen, replaced with respect, admiration, and friendship, and in the heart of it all were Eli and Sarah, the children who had proven that even the smallest humans could make the biggest difference. They laughed, learned, and played, their energy and curiosity reminding everyone that courage and intelligence come in all shapes and sizes. One quiet evening, the Queen looked at her grandchildren, standing proudly among the glowing flowers. "Yes," she whispered to herself, "these are my grandchildren, and they will change the galaxy." David and Myra smiled at each other, knowing that the journey was far from over. But for now, they had achieved something remarkable. Humans and Zithrans had found a way to live together, to learn from each other, and to create a future that was brighter than anyone had imagined. The twin moons reflected in the palace fountains, and the stars above twinkled like promises of adventures yet to come. Zithra, once cautious and wary, had embraced change, and its future shone brighter because of courage, creativity, and the unyielding spirit of humans. And so, the story ended not with fear or conflict, but with hope, unity, and the knowledge that together, different worlds could achieve greatness. The legacy of cooperation, understanding, and courage will live on for generations to come.